And welcome back to the show, folks. Nick Malone here on Over the Ropes, and I bring to you, loyal listeners out there, the Ring of Honor World Champion, Nigel McGuinness. Nigel, how you doing today?
I'm a little bit sick, Nicholas. A little bit under the weather, mate. I think I've got a flu coming on or something.
Well, I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold myself with the wintertime and everything. It's sure definitely not fun. Just to start off, was there any one individual wrestler or match in general that you've seen as a small child that really turned you on to the business of professional wrestling?
There was a few. I think more so characters than matches themselves. When I first started watching British wrestling, Finlay, ironically enough, was a guy that always stood out in my mind. His old tag team partner, Skull Murphy, a couple of bruising villains, and a lot of the good old baby faces back in the day, Steve Gray and those sort of guys. But then when I got into WWE, it was really guys like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Bret the Hitman Hart, Ted DiBiase, guys like that really, got me into it. And I think it was probably the Bret Hart and British Bulldog match at SummerSlam '92 in Wembley Stadium, when I went to watch with a friend of mine, that actually really made me decide that, I'd give this a shot. And then there was a documentary on TV in England by a wrestler called Robbie Brookside, who was one of the last true veterans of the business over there. He's a guy that helped William Regal out a lot when he started out. A real fantastic guy. He's actually running a school over in England at the moment. He's just a fantastic guy to learn from and just talk to as well. Robbie's a great example of somebody that, just can speak well on a variety of topics. People have this, misconception about wrestlers being meatheads or uneducated or whatever else, and when the truth is often, just the opposite. And Robbie's a very intelligent guy, well versed. You can talk about politics as well as you can talk about, punk music that he loves or whatever else happens to be. And, it was seeing this documentary on TV, and he was a smaller guy by his own admission.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Seeing a guy like that, being able to be a wrestler and do it for a living, I thought to myself, this is something I could have a shot at doing,
Yeah, and certainly when you want to capture that dream of yours, of course, really moving to, another city or a town is difficult, but moving from all your friends and family back home in England over here to the States, just for the land of opportunities in general, how difficult was it for you to really relocate and basically train under the tutelage of one Les Thatcher over in the Heartland Wrestling Association that you first started out in?
It was really difficult. Really difficult starting out for a number of reasons. I was just on a temporary visa, which essentially meant that I couldn't work when I was out here. I could only stay for a limited period of time, and I had to have all the money to support myself while I did it, which obviously is quite a significant amount of money, But Les helped a lot. He gave me a break on a lot of the fees and stuff like that, and he saw that I was willing to bust my ass to try and make it, so he really helped me out. And a lot of the other guys as well. Shark Boy was training there at the time. He gave me a place to stay when I first got there. They helped me find my first apartment. And he took me on the road. He took me to a lot of the smaller independent shows that he was booked on at the time, and smartened me up to a lot of the intricacies and the etiquette of the professional wrestling industry that a lot of times people don't learn, sometimes ever, but a lot of time for a few years. He smartened me up straight away, so I'll be eternally indebted to him as well as and other guys there as well.
Just look at, the business of wrestling in general, and it comes with the territory that, everybody once in a while always has to get injured, or it's not really planned, but that comes with the territory nonetheless. But what was one of your worst injuries that you could really remember, or one that took the most damage out of you?
I think long term it will probably be the concussions. I'm not really feeling the extent of them at the moment, and there's hope. Obviously, guys like Mick Foley took a much worse punishment in terms of headshots and concussions than I ever did, and he seems to be doing pretty well for himself. But I definitely noticed some sort of issues with that, short-term memory, concentration, depression, that sort of stuff that come along with concussions. That's quite scary. Obviously, I tore my left bicep a week after I got the the Ring of Honor belt, which put me out for a significant amount of time, at least as far as Ring of Honor is concerned, because, you know, when you're out, you're not earning money, and when you're the champion, you can only be out for so long before, obviously, you have to drop the belt.
Exactly.
And then just recently, I tore my other bicep, so I'm kind of messed up from that as well. Herniated discs in my back that really for the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, I stretch every morning and manage to just keep it manageable, but somewhere down the line that's going to be become worse, more and more of an issue. But it's, like you said, it comes with the business, and if you want to be a wrestler for any significant period of time, you're essentially sacrificing your body, hopefully, for, you know, financial and, you know, exposure.
All right. Well, I mean, certainly, just looking back to the year 2005, you dabbled a little bit in territories like Ohio Valley Wrestling that once changed from Heartland Wrestling Association into the WWE's developmental territory, and actually was found on a TNA pay-per-view, Genesis, back in November of that year in a losing effort to Shark Boy. How did those two separate ordeals work out?
It's funny you use the word ordeal. They weren't actually that terrible, to be honest with you. OVW was a very, very eye-opening experience. You know, it was a very different situation to what I'd been used to in Ring of Honor. I'd seen a little bit of the developmental system, like you said, in HWA, but that was when I was really part of it. You know, OVW, I was kind of an outsider, and I just came into the TVs on Wednesday. I didn't go to the practices or anything else like that, so to a certain extent I was never really one of the boys there. I was only there for a limited short period of time as well. You know, I only actually had one match on TV, very short match with Elijah Burke, which should probably never be mentioned again, but you know, it is one of those deals where, like I said, I learned a lot from it. And I think it was a good experience for me. Al Snow was instrumental in, you know, keeping me coming back for TVs for a while, and he really, you know, helped me a lot in terms of changing my style from what at the time was, you know, largely hold-based sort of style, reminiscent of the old British style, a little bit of Japanese thrown in, to where I really turned up the aggression, turned up the exclamation points, as you would at the end of certain things I did in the ring, and that, to a large extent, has made a lot of difference in my career, you know, so I got a lot from that. And as far as the TNA deal goes, you know, I was originally supposed to be coming in to wrestle Samoa Joe, and then that fell through for whatever reason. They decided to go in a different direction, and so then I found out a week before I was wrestling Shark Boy, and of course I was, you know, ecstatic about that because, like I said, I started out in the business with him, and I've always had a lot of respect. And so I really enjoyed that opportunity to wrestle with him on that sort of national level. And, you know, nothing came of it, but that often happens in the wrestling business. You know, you've got to put more than one iron in the fire, so to speak. Nothing came of it at that point, but who knows about the future? You know, who knows if I'll be alive.
Well, I mean, just now going into your Ring of Honor career, when you first really started out, I'd say you carried this odd little iron out to the ring with you that was almost encrusted with a bedazzler, like jewels representing the Union Jack from your native country. What was the whole deal with that?
Oh, man, I wish I had a better story, really, but long story short, it was just an idea I had. I wrestled a couple of matches, went back to England, made up mind to come back to America, and in that time period I had a girlfriend, and who was, you know, somewhat upper class, whose mother had never seen wrestling, and one day saw people running to the ring with various different objects and stuff, and asked about it. Said, why do they do that? Is it legal? I obviously explained that was part of their character. She was doing the ironing at the time and said, does anyone ever bring an iron to the ring? And I just sort of, you know, struck a stupid chord, as things often do with me. And I just, when I came back, almost as a rib, really, as a bit of a joke, I sort of came to the ring with the iron, because back in the days, you know, my gimmick was kind of like a soccer hooligan, and back in the days, in the 80s, when people were going to, you know, soccer matches and getting in fights and, you know, punch-ups and stuff like that, a lot of times they'd bring various different objects. You know, I don't think anyone ever really instilled how to bring an iron, but, you know, people have brought, you know, pipes and various other things from household objects to, you know, hit people with, and that was just kind of the idea behind it. And then, funnily enough, one of the fans there in HWA made the iron that I continued to carry. If it wasn't for her, to be perfectly honest with you, I probably would have stopped carrying the iron, a week or so after doing it. But she must have taken hours to make this iron and paint it and write all these different things on and stuff like that. And it was she'd taken so much time and effort over it and made such a wonderful job that I thought, oh, okay, better start using it. I mean, I became kind of synonymous with it. And looking back now, of course, you question yourself and think, man, did I, when was it I actually had my concussions? Because it doesn't really strike you as the smartest idea. And there were certain people in the wrestling business that, when asked about me, that's the first thing that springs to their mind. Like, is he still carrying the iron to the ring? And that's not